Welcome to the Consciousness Anywhere and Everywhere podcast. I am Shannon O'Hara, and I invite you to a completely new world of possibilities. Breathe in nature. Welcome to Nature Spirits and the Consciousness Anywhere podcast, the connection with our beautiful earth and everything talk to the entities related. This is Spirits of the Earth, spotlight focus in a year-long endeavor to bring the tools, the assets, the miracles, the mysteries, and the possibilities of talk to the entities and every nuance that entities can take in our lives in ways that we definitely haven't been educated in, maybe sometimes want to acknowledge, but feel a tremendous amount of social or psychological judgment if we do acknowledge stuff around the spirit world. So if you are interested in more entity-focused, positive education, empowerment, and information, please check out the previous Talk to the Entities specialty spotlight focuses that I've been doing throughout, starting like in February 2025 on the Consciousness Anywhere podcast. It is just the tip of the iceberg to the incredible wealth of resources, education, empowerment, and possibility that Talk to the Entities provides. Check out talktotheentities.com to get into it. So today is Nature Spirits, which is one of the more peaceful, magical, and pleasurable areas of entity possibility, in my opinion. I grew up in a natural place. I grew up in Southern California. Yes, it was developed, and there still was a lot of nature. I'm sort of privileged and grateful to worship nature, to love nature, and to turn to nature for support, for therapy, for pleasure, for possibility, for health. And including the spirits of the earth has been an interesting journey for me growing up in a European descent culture. For we are not taught, empowered, or educated about spirits, period, and let alone allowed to play with nature spirits without being called crazy or weird. If you are from a non-European descent culture, Asian, African, Mesoamerican, Central American, South American, basically everything except for European, there's a lot more knowledge, if not necessarily clear and clean information about nature spirits. What I mean by clear and clean is there. I can speak mostly to the Asian part of things because I've worked with a lot of Asians throughout my facilitation career, and what I've gathered is that the information and the education that they receive about entities, and specifically nature spirits, is hugely shrouded in significance. Like they're good, they're bad, curses, evil, these sorts of things. Which, like, really, nature isn't evil, and nothing that exists in nature is evil, because all of nature, like, nature doesn't think, nor does it have a good or bad. It's in balance in all of its fathomless ways. So when we're talking about nature spirits, you hear a lot of you can hear a lot of stories about like water spirits, spirits that live in the trees. Of course, in European descent cultures, we do have fairy tales that are usually children's stories that talk more about, or you see artist renderings of little tiny ladies with wings that fly around flowers. In the Anglo-Saxon or the Irish, English, Scottish universe, there's the fairy rings, which are a real phenomenon. If none of you guys have ever seen mushrooms growing in a circle, it's pretty cool. So what do I mean by nature spirits? I mean the diverse energy, consciousness, and beings that exist in the natural world, like the animal population and like the biodiverse bioorganism population. As the nature environment is decimated, huge populations go into extinction. For nature spirits, like it sounds, exist in nature. So if a river gets disrupted, which mankind loves to do, if the forest is decimated, like mankind likes to do, if a mountain is leveled, like mankind likes to do, mined, irrigated, manipulated, it disrupts the natural environment or natural ecosystem that nature spirits live in. The more plants, the more nature spirits. Just like the more plants, the more insects. The more plants, the more bioavailable bacterias, organisms, and microorganisms. So one of the things that we're experiencing is this lack of connection to the natural world as we evolve past the industrial societies into technology societies. Technology is awesome. Like, I am not a technology disavower or not lover. Like, right now you are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast on a item of technology that is pretty cool. And is it contributing to your connection to the earth? Or is it contributing to your connection with your head? To be more connected to the earth, we must be more connected to our bodies, for our bodies are organisms of the earth. Literally, without the earth, you don't have a body. Your body is made of the same material as nature and all celestial bodies, literally. Your body is in rhythm with all natural earth and cosmic cycles, yea, existence and living in a body on planet magic. And if you want to live more on planet magic rather than on planet depression or planet pain or planet not present, it's time to embrace the weird, the different, the what is usually exiled to the land of fairy tales or make-believe, or the stupid thing your grandparents or your great-grandparents or your uneducated ancestors believed. For all of our ancestors, no matter where, new nature spirits, or all of our ancestors lived more in nature than we do today. You had to be connected to nature to survive. And since there was less distraction from presence in the natural world, I posit that our ancestors were just far more sensitive to spirits in a way that most modern people are not, due to the spirit world being, number one, exiled as something that you're not supposed to look at, see, be aware of, talk to, or acknowledge. And us not being educated or empowered. I just watched a show on Netflix. God, what was it called? Wow. Untamed. Yeah, there you go. Untamed. And it had Eric Bana. Is that how you pronounce the last name? Anyways, I didn't love the show. I'm not recommending the show at all. But there was a Native American character, an actor in it, and he was the only one in the show that talked about spirits. And I've got to say, listening to that character talk about spirits, and it was a really marginal character and someone that you didn't see a lot in the show. But listening to him talk about spirits made me feel less crazy and wrong. When he was talking about water spirits and ancestral spirits and natural spirits and crossing over and what we call death, they call crossing over into another living or another life. That is a much more sane place and space for me, for sure. So let's embrace the natural spirits that maybe some of you have been aware of, that you maybe doubted or suppressed, or maybe haven't been aware of since you were a little kid, or saw or experienced and thought you were crazy and sequestered it to made up or pushed it way out. Bring it back in. The way that we develop and strengthen our capacity with awareness is to acknowledge awareness, not to react and reject awareness. And since awareness is not understood, we tend to, in fact, not only is awareness not understood, but it's something that when we're aware, oftentimes we're told we're wrong or crazy. And so with awareness, I mean awareness of everything. Yes, I mean awareness of the spirit world, but I also mean awareness of people's thoughts, awareness of what's true. And if someone's lying, you're aware of it. Awareness of other lifetimes, awareness of future premonition, awareness of somebody thinking about you on the other side of the planet. Awareness is free and easy, and everybody has access to it, yet we're heavily encouraged not to be aware. We're encouraged to prove why we know and that we know, to show our work, to justify, to explain, to defend, not to know, not to be aware with ease for free without reason and justification. And that's where the spirit world begins. It's in the free awareness that has no reason or justification that comes with living. And I grew up in an open culture. To a degree open. I grew up in Southern California, which is a progressive place and space. And I grew up in a progressive family. And all that being said, I still struggled to acknowledge that I was aware of entities because I knew that I didn't know. I thought that if I said it out loud, if I acknowledged it, number one, my friends would think I was really weird and I really didn't want to be a freak. And sadly, that's where so much of the magic that is possible for so many of us gets designated as into this weird world. You're weird if you see this, you're a freak if you talk about this, you're not normal. But what if not being aware of spirits? What if not seeing the lights in the trees and hearing the whispers in the leaves and sensing the spirits in the water and knowing the joy that glistens through all biological organisms, what if that was normal? And what if not being aware and not connected to your body and disconnected from the spirit world was actually a sign of psychological sickness, not rightness? So if you have sensed the spirits of the earth, trust it. Trust yourself. Or don't. Or do. It's up to you. But I'm with you. And all the spirits are with you. And all your ancestors who know too can contribute. And so, when did you perceive a natural spirit or a nature being and acknowledge that? That's how you increase that connection and develop that relationship, not by ignoring it, by acknowledging it. When I think I was turning 21, I was, I don't know what happened at this birthday, but I was like by myself, which is very unusual. But I don't know why I was alone on this particular birthday because I was in my hometown. Like, I don't know what was going on. I must have, I think I was turning 21. Anyways, I was alone that day. I was feeling really sorry for myself. And I decided to take myself up to the mountains for a hike. And I was hiking up the mountain and I got to this creek crossing that I've crossed multiple times. I had crossed multiple times in my life. And I'm crossing this creek crossing and I see this like something like really flashing at me from down the creek. And I turned towards it and it was just like this whoosh, this like incredible presence and energy flowed into my universe. And I burst into tears, but not like in like a significant, like sad way, but in this like powerful, transformational, receiving way. And I had this like powerful moment of gifting from these water spirits. And it to date is one of the coolest birthday presents I've ever received. And it was like my whole fucking attitude changed. I was so pumped, so privileged, so at peace, so gifted, so wow, after I crossed that creek with the presence and the flow that those beings contributed to me. Even now, thinking about it, my whole universe is enriched with vulnerable, powerful, palpable caring. And that, to be fair, was probably the first time in my adult life that I remember a very clear interaction with nature spirits. And since from that point forward, I made a point to never ignore them again, to be present, even if I couldn't define them. And this is where you're going to have to be really aware as an adult, the need and the desire to define. Our minds cannot fathom, cannot understand, cannot comprehend the magic, the mystery, and the possibility that the spirit world functions from. That being said, it can absolutely be known, but it can't be defined and confined through the lens of the reality that you or that we tend to want to believe or superimpose onto everything that's different. Like it's called anthropomorphization, where you give something human qualities. Like, for example, in cartoons, when animals talk, that's an anthropomorphization of animals, giving animals human qualities. And you see this a lot in a lot of the artist renderings of nature spirits. They're like little fairy ladies, like they look like people with wings, but that's not what nature spirits look like. So if you can perceive through the eyes of awareness rather than through the eyes of control, you might be gifted so much more. The way you increase and develop the participation, the contribution of natural spirits is by acknowledging first and foremost. Like I can't overemphasize that enough. Like acknowledgement is huge. And maybe you might have to recognize if you do, you want to look at okay, so do you have walls? Do you have a lot of walls and barriers up? Or do you use your mind as a defense mechanism against that which, wasn't allowed or isn't allowed or you can't define or control? Will you perceive? Will you receive what you can't control and what you can't define? Or will you only acknowledge and receive what you can control with your mind? And if that is the case, that you will only receive what you can control with your mind, you lose the fathomless possibilities that exist that your mind can't control. And although I understand the seduction of control and the mind, I also value all of the energy that exists outside what you can define. For you are gifted, not the dictator of everything. So if you would like to bring, to encourage, to invite, to have nature spirits as part of your world, part of the world, first acknowledge your awareness. I cannot emphasize that enough. Acknowledgement. Acknowledge when you have been aware of them. Even acknowledge if you're resistant or put up a barrier or judge yourself for being aware or call that awareness crazy. Be aware of that too, because that's, something you need to be aware of so you can make a different choice. Then invite nature spirits. Literally, hey guys, will you help my garden grow? Will you help my forest grow? Will you come to the earth? You're welcome here. Bring more plants into your house. Or invite the nature spirits into the garden. They do like plants, and there's a lot to be said for the natural world and that being their habitat and environment. I prefer being surrounded by nature than being surrounded by city. But if you do live in a city, as many of us do on the planet, this still works. One of the really great examples of this, in my opinion, is in Tokyo. So the Shinto religion is a spirit religion or a spirit honoring practice. And if you're in Tokyo, and if you've ever been in Tokyo, you would have seen this. You'll just be walking down the most developed, cement skyscraper avenue, and you'll turn a corner and there's a Shinto shrine, tucked in between two buildings. And it might be a tiny shrine and it might be a less tiny shrine, but usually they're not that big in Tokyo. And there are bigger ones too, but there's always plants. There's always the orange Shinto structure. And it's full of nature spirits right in the fucking heart of Tokyo. And it's I think a really accurate depiction and a real life, a great example of how nature spirits do need nature. So in these Shinto shrines, there's always a plant or many plants. You want to create an environment for nature spirits, for earth honoring civilization? bring the plants into your life, nourish and nurture your relationship with natural spirits, with the intermediary of plants. And if you're not a plant person, just go outside, go somewhere, and you can take this audio, this podcast into the park, to the beach, to the mountains, to that patch of grass down the block, and tune into the dirt, tune into the bioatmosphere. Play with the spirits. You're not crazy. You might just be more fun than everybody else. Whenever you're listening to this podcast, if you are listening to this in the month of August 2025 when it's released, it will be followed in late August by a facilitator, Talk to the Entities facilitator roundtable with myself, Monica Gilliam, and Allison Cox. So I encourage you to tune in for that, because those two ladies are a gift and a key to a different possibility in a very magical, hip, hip, hooray way. And if you're listening to this down the track in the future, way in the future, and you want to check out more about the nature spirits, please explore the whole Talk to the Entities specialty class that I facilitated on nature spirits. It's a 3-part class. And we hope that everybody who knows what's possible chooses to be that. What would a conscious society that included all beings and judged none, including you, be like? And the more of us that choose to acknowledge what we know, not hide behind fear, not judge, become the source that invites a different possibility. You are a source. What are you the source of that you might not be acknowledging or you might be avoiding? Be strong rather than wrong. I love you guys. Thank you for listening to this show. My target is to make consciousness easy to find and choose. So if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes and share this with somebody who you know who might be looking for more consciousness in their life. You can visit me on shannon-o'hara.com or talktotheentities.com. And to learn more about the amazing tools of Access Consciousness, you can visit accessconsciousness.com and be sure to subscribe to the podcast.